Hello and welcome back to And the Gooby Goes To. Hope you all have had a wonderful Monday so far. We've got a lot of information to cover in this video. Obviously, we have the Critics' Choice Award reactions from last night, and we have a ton of Guild nominations coming out this week. We have the SAG Actor Award nominations coming on Wednesday, the Directors Guild of America nominations coming on Thursday, and the Producers Guild of America nominations coming on Friday. Three of those items being some of the biggest forecasters that pundits look to as it pertains to Oscar nominations. So as soon as we get these Critics' Choice Awards winners, we're getting some of our biggest precursors of the this week as well. So there's going to be a lot of information, not only like this week for everybody, but also within this video. So stay with me, but I'm going to try and cover it in a short amount of time for the sake of everyone's attention span on the Monday following the holiday break. So jumping right into the Critics' Choice Awards. So interesting ceremony, kind of starting off with the ceremony itself. I don't know how others feel about this, but it really felt like the TV awards really dragged this year. Frankly, I was struggling to stay awake. Obviously, I love TV. There's so much television that I watch. I'm going to cover so much of it when we're in TV season, in the fall and early winter before film award season really kicks off. But I just don't feel like before we've had like this huge gap within like the first, hour and a half where we don't see a single film award given out and it's just TV for the most part, except of course, the very first award they gave out was the Young Performer Award. But once we got to the film awards themselves, it was interesting because some of those wins were somewhat unexpected. We had the supporting acting categories, Amy Madigan winning, not very surprising. I know a lot of people had her predicted. I had her at my number 2 behind my hope prediction of Ariana Grande, but then Jacob Elordi winning for Frankenstein in supporting actor. Very surprising win. I don't think anybody had him above number 4, 5, or 6 within their odds. And I think that was a cry heard from across the pundit world when that win was announced. Very exciting though, like kind of cool to have a category that seems so shaken up because I don't think he's a big contender to win like all the way to the Oscars, but it certainly did not give us any insight as to like who's going to become a front runner, except maybe the fact that like the One Battle Boys are going to split throughout the season and neither of them are going to win at the end of the day. But some of the tech categories were interesting, like F1 winning editing, which I guess makes sense, like tied to the sound win that they got as well. But overall, with the movie wins, there was no big sweeper. And that seems to be a trend that we're getting over the past couple years. Like I mentioned in my last video with my predictions, last year with Anora, not a single win leading up to the final award, and then they just win Best Picture. And it kind of felt like the same vibe this time around. So, you look at the tallies overall, no film won more than 4 awards. Frankenstein and Sinners tied at 4 wins each. You could technically honestly say that Frankenstein led if you take out the Young Performer Award, since that's not really an award that translates through all of the major award associations. With Frankenstein getting that surprise supporting actor win, and then the trifecta of production design, costume design, and hair and makeup design, and then Sinners taking home the Young Performer, casting an ensemble, screenplay, and score. So interesting split there. And, as we're going through the evening, some other surprise wins being given out as well. Like, Train Dreams taking cinematography, not Sinners, not One Battle. The Secret Agent taking Best International Feature. That was definitely a surprise. And then, K-pop Demon Hunters taking animated feature and song, and then Hamnet getting Best Actress, Barty Supreme getting Best Actor. And then, we're leading up towards the end, and I'm sitting there realizing, oh my God, One Battle After Another hasn't won a single award yet. And we got through all the acting, because I think director came before lead actress and lead actor. So we're getting to director and it's like, oh my God, One Battle hasn't won anything yet. But then I'm like, well, again, remember last year, like Anora literally didn't win a single award till the very end. So I felt okay still about One Battle, and it did what it needed to do. It first got adapted screenplay in that very annoying format of not being televised for a speech, which I thought was really strange for the screenplay categories because they've aired those speeches before. And like last year, it was really cool because The Substance really upset at the Critics' Choice Awards, beating Anora for Best Original Screenplay, and Coralie Farjah got to give that amazing speech there. And that really got everyone amped up for what The Substance could potentially have in terms of Oscars buzz that led to, a great number of nominations for that movie. And then this year, we're getting all these crazy extended bids for the TV sections, but we can't air the screenplay wins for the films. And it's so bizarre. Luckily, Paul Thomas Anderson got to get up there and give a speech for director. But unfortunately, like Ryan Coogler didn't get an opportunity to speak on behalf of Sinners at any point because, the casting director spoke for casting an ensemble and then Miles Caton won for young performer. So definitely disappointing. I hope there is another opportunity before the Oscars for Ryan Coogler to give a speech because that would really be a shame if he doesn't get the chance to do so. But yeah, big takeaway with the Critics' Choice Awards. I don't think we got much. Like I said, I think supporting actor is a little bit muddled now. If anything, maybe Stellan Skarsgård is just going to be the winner at like the tail end with like BAFTA and the Oscars, and that's it. If neither of these one battle boys can prove to be uber competitive in the category. Supporting actress, I think Amy Madigan, like I said in my last predictions video, if the road ended here for her, I was going to be worried about like if she could even get nominated throughout the rest of the season, but I think this win helps her a lot. She had a great speech. She's so charming. She's so just great to listen to, and I think people will want the opportunity to potentially hear from her more. And so I think that's going to help her definitely secure that Oscar nomination. But with Jessie Buckley winning Best Actress for Hamnet, I do think that we may be at the end of the road for Rose Byrne securing nominations for the rest of the season. I'm going to fact check one thing quick, but a comparison I made like a month ago on TikTok was it feels like Rose Byrne this year is Jennifer Aniston in Cake back in 2015. Jennifer Aniston got the Globe nomination for drama. She did get the SAG nomination, so she didn't have BAFTA, and she had the Critics' Choice. So she got everything but BAFTA and then ultimately didn't get the Oscar nomination. And I do feel like Rose Byrne is on a very similar trajectory here. And I think she really, really needed this Critics' Choice win to be cemented enough to like be getting those number one votes for the Oscar nomination. And I think this just proved that I think she's going to fall out of the race. We'll see what happens with the SAG Actor Award nominations on Wednesday. Spoiler alert, I don't have her in my 5 right now. And then obviously we'll have to see what happens with BAFTA, but I really don't think she's going to get in there. So this may be the end of the road for Rose Byrne, but we'll have to see. So moving on from Critics' Choice, we are going to jump into the guilds. So first, we're going to start off with SAG Actor Awards. So let's kick it off with Best Stunt Ensemble. I did not cover the stunt category within my Critics' Choice Award picks just because they don't yet have an Oscar associated with stunt. I know it's coming very soon, but I didn't think to include it. And honestly, like I had Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning predicted because for the like regional critics groups that do vote in stunt, it swept. Like there was no other winner. It was always going to be Mission Impossible. And so with that being said, for Best Stunt Ensemble at SAG, I have Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, F1, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Wicked for Good. I don't really know what could be an upset here, honestly. So looking at Award Expert, by the way, Award Expert, a great app that came from Brother Bro of the Oscar Expert. They have now surpassed subscribers. Like they have more subscribers than Gold Derby does. It's a cool app. It's very interactive. It's a lot more user friendly than Gold Derby, frankly. And like I couldn't even get the Gold Derby app on my phone to open today. I pretty much only can use it on my desktop. But it's very fun. They've put a lot of work into it, and they also provide great graphics that you can use in videos like these. So those are where my graphics are coming from. So thank y'all so much for those, Oscar Expert and Brother Bro. Really appreciate it. So I have the top 5 right now, and I don't really know like where this could differ. Like looking at the next 5 that are even in the odds, we've got Superman, Avatar, Fire and Ash, Ballerina, Thunderbolts, and The Running Man. I just don't know what could upset here. Like Mission Impossible feels just inevitable because of the genre. F1 is a big enough movie that I think a lot of people have watched that does have like a lot of stunt work in it. One Battle and Sinners just being such strong movies that have enough stunts in them to carry it. And then Wicked for Good, Wicked got nominated last year. I do think they're still showcasing enough of the stunt work, like especially with Cynthia and all her own stunt work that she did, but like the rest of the ensemble doing their stunt work as well. And I do think that even though the film isn't as strong as Wicked Part 1, I do think For Good is strong enough and will be strong enough with SAG that it can still pick up something here. If there were to be an upset, I would say maybe Thunderbolts, if anything. But again, I don't have too much to work on with this category, and I'm just gonna stick with the top 5. Moving on, supporting actor. So the nominees for best supporting actor, we've got Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value, Paul Mescal for Hamnet, Sean Penn for One Battle After Another, Benicio del Toro for One Battle After Another, and Adam Sandler for Jake Kelly. So I think the big differentiator I have here is I am not predicting Jacob Elordi. That may be a really stupid mistake, and I understand that, but I don't know who to take out in his place. I think a lot of logic would say that Adam Sandler should come out just because like Jake Kelly is so falling off of a cliff, it's not even funny, but we don't know how some of the guilds are going to feel about it this week. I still think it's hanging on for dear life. I think just given like who Adam Sandler is and that he has like picked up SAG nominations before for even less, I would say, popular work, he feels safe enough here for me that I've got Jacob Elordi booted out in his favor, just because of the other 4, I don't know who I would take out. If I had to pick one, maybe it's Benicio. Maybe they don't go for the double one battle, but that movie's so strong that I don't know why it wouldn't get both. But other than that, this does feel pretty cut and dry. I don't know who could be like a surprise upset here. I just don't think any of these top 6, at least, with Jacob Elordi included, are weak enough to fall out so hard that like a major curveball could swing into here. So those are the 5 I've got for best supporting actor. Best supporting actress. So my 5 I have for best supporting actress are Teyana Taylor for One Battle After Another, Ariana Grande for Wicked for Good, Elle Fanning for Sentimental Value, Emily Blunt for The Smashing Machine, and Inga Ibsdottir Lilias for Sentimental Value. So probably biggest risk here is putting both of the Sentimental Value girls in. However, they've yet to miss one of them at one of the major awards bodies, and I don't know why that would start here. I think Sentimental Value is the most acty film of the year, and it only makes sense to me that like those core 4 with Renata, Stellan, Elle, and Inga just going the whole way. Like that movie just revolves around them so much in their performances that like I don't understand why one would suddenly disappear. And again, with that being like just the most acting heavy film, it's super meta with it being about, performance and acting and stage work and film work, that I feel like it's something that SAG would just eat up. And I think it's made, despite being an international film, I think it's made enough noise within Hollywood and the industry that enough folks have seen it and they've enjoyed it and they're going to want to recognize both of those performances. And then with Emily Blunt, I did just go with her because she seems to like show up even when you least expect it. Like it's just unwise to doubt Emily Blunt's ability to get nominated at SAG. So I've got her here. Obviously, the biggest person I have out right now is Amy Madigan, and that might be a really dumb decision. I might really regret that, but I just have a feeling that she's gonna miss somewhere significant. And I think SAG, where the movie has nothing else going for it, and they've only got 5 nominees available, I feel like this is the place she's going to miss, but then she'll be fine the rest of the season. Like, I think she'll hit BAFTA, and then I think she'll get the Oscar nomination, but I just have a gut feeling she's going to miss here for somebody like Emily Blunt, or in order for both of the Sentimental Value girls to get in. Other people like that folks have in their top 10 that could sneak in: Wunmi Masaku for Sinners. Depending how much they really love Sinners, that could happen. It would probably be for somebody like Inga Ibsdottir Lilias. I do think Elle Fanning being, a recognizable American Hollywood actress plays an advantage for her. And she's been nominated here before on the TV side. Other folks that are floating around in there, we've got both Gwyneth Paltrow and Odessa Zion for Marty Supreme. We've yet to see either of them get nominated anywhere major yet. And so maybe this is the first time and then the only time. Maybe this kickstarts like a real campaign for one of them, at least through the BAFTAs and then to a surprise Oscar nomination. Who knows? I do feel like we've got Glenn Close in there. Honestly, we've got Regina Hall in there, somebody who's like such a well-known established actress of several decades that like if they really go fucking crazy for One Battle After Another, maybe that happens. So we've got like 10 or 11 people, I feel like, who are really fighting for these spots. And frankly, the only person I feel like really comfortable with is Teyana Taylor. I would say like everyone else I've got on my list is at risk, and I wouldn't be terribly surprised if they missed. Like even Ariana, maybe if they really fall off the Wicked train. I just, though, I feel like SAG's gonna be the least likely to do that. But again, I feel like this category is really up in the air with like 10 or 11 women, and we'll have to see what happens. But these are the five I've got, and they're the five I'm going to stick with for now. Okay, jumping over to Best Actor. So my five, I've got Timothy Chalamet for Mighty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio for One Battle After Another, Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon, and Jeremy Allen White for Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. So probably like the riskiest pick I've got here is Jeremy Allen White. I just feel like he's going to show up somewhere else, and then that'll be it. And I feel like SAG would be the most likely place for that to happen. It's really, I mean, Ethan Hawke is a biopic performance, but like Jeremy Allen White is the biopic performance this year in the actor race. And I feel like SAG just can't resist that. He's been nominated and won more than once for The Bear. So they've already got his name like on their mind. If the conspiracies are true, you know, there's a whole conspiracy about the fact that like the SAG ballot comes in with last names first so that, you know, you're not getting a bias towards voting for people whose last names are at the beginning of the alphabet. So they purposely send it in reverse order. Well, with Jeremy Allen White being towards the end, that means he'd be towards the top of the ballot. So maybe they'll see his name like at the beginning there and check it off because they're like, oh yeah, he was in a movie this year that like wasn't great, but I thought he gave a good performance and we've seen it here before, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to vote for him. I'm working off some nonsense there in terms of my confidence in him getting picked. Really who I booted for that was George Clooney for Jay Kelly. I just do think, like I said, like I think either Jay Kelly's going to have a really good day or a really bad day. And right now I'm leaning towards really bad day, aside from Adam Sandler still squeezing in. But I do think George Clooney is going to miss at this point. I just think like his campaign and like people's support for him in that performance is just non-existent in comparison to like some of these other movies that have happened this year. Other folks in the top 10, we've got Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent. I just don't see SAG going for that. Like with it being an international film, Wagner Moura not being that well known within Hollywood and America specifically, and the film not really being like big enough to carry him along to that nomination. Dwayne The Rock for The Smashing Machine, I could see that happening. Like maybe he's someone that goes in instead of Jeremy Allen White as kind of like that very meaty performance, like transformative performance, and he could carry along with Emily Blunt as well. Joel Edgerton for Train Dreams, I don't think so. Like I don't think SAG is going to have anything to do with Train Dreams. Like that's such a quiet, subtle film that's more so about the artistic craft and the story of it. Jesse Plemons for Begonia, spoiler with actress as well, I don't have Begonia doing well here. I just don't know if there's enough buzz around the film overall to like carry those performances with it. So yeah, so I'm really confident about these first four, and then number 5 is kind of a toss-up. Maybe if Frankenstein somehow has a really good day, Oscar Isaac sneaks in, and that's about it. I can't like Hugh Jackman for Song Sung Blue. I don't think so. I just at this point I'm gonna say it's either Jeremy Allen White or Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and I'm gonna go with JAW. All right, and Best Actress. So for my 5, I've got Jessie Buckley for Hamnet, Renata Reinsva for Sentimental Value, Chase Infinity for One Battle After Another, Cynthia Erivo for Wicked for Good, and Kate Hudson for Song Sung Blue. So as I kind of preluded, I do not have Rose Byrne in here. Might regret that, but I'm kind of going off of a hunch again, similar to the Amy Madigan situation where I feel like the road is going to end for Rose Byrne, and after not winning Critics' Choice, I do feel like this is going to be the end of the road. Risks I have here, I don't know. I think Jessie Buckley's the only safe bet I have in this one too. Like Renata could be at risk if they don't end up going for Sentimental Value, but like I said, I'm pretty confident like in that movie and all 4 of those performances. Chase Infinity could miss, but with her being a younger, like lesser known actress, but I feel like again, One Battle's just so strong that it's going to pick up just about every acting nomination that it can. Cynthia Erivo, you know, obviously missing the Critics' Choice nomination. She hasn't been out in front of everybody very much, mostly in part due to that like she's picking up rehearsals for Dracula right now, so she wasn't even at the Critics' Choice Awards. Obviously she'll be at the Globes on Sunday, but you know, if the Wicked heat has died out enough, maybe she doesn't get in, but I feel good enough about her getting in here. And then Kate Hudson for Song Sung Blue, you know, we've only seen her pick up that Critics' Choice, or I'm sorry, that Golden Globe nomination so far, but that feels like enough of like a meaty performance that, you know, she's a big enough name in Hollywood with a lot of friendly fans around her who are probably likely to vote for her. So that's the 5 I've got. Don't have Rose Byrne in. I don't have Emma Stone in. I just don't know if like people are passionate enough about that performance to vote her in. Other people in like the top 10 that I would look out for, maybe Amanda Seyfried. But again, the testament of Ann Lee just feels so dead that like I just don't know why she would sneak in here, but maybe like if she's got enough of a support campaign for her specifically. Jennifer Lawrence for Dime I Love, that just feels like way too risky of a performance to vote for, and that movie's not big enough. Tessa Thompson for Hedda, just not enough buzz. So I don't know. Oh, I just saw Ava Victor's name. I would lose my fucking shit if Ava Victor ended up in here, but that's not going to happen. So again, I think, I've got Emma Stone and Rose Byrne out, so maybe one or two of them get swapped in for anybody I've got between 2 and 5 right now. But we'll have to see what happens. And rounding out my SAG Actor Award nomination predictions, we've got Best Ensemble. So I've got One Battle After Another, Sinners, Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, and Wicked for Good. I think the only 3 I feel good about are my top 3. So One Battle, Sinners, and Marty Supreme. Sentimental Value, again, I have a hunch that it's going to do really well. It's so actor heavy. It's so meta. It's so like everything that SAG should be eating up. So, and I'm putting a lot of personal faith, I guess, in it too, because I would vote for that ensemble in all these performances. But I do feel like it'll show up. And then obviously Wicked for Good is a bit of a risk right now, just given its overall performance throughout the year thus far, and the fact that it like only seems to be getting weaker. But again, Wicked Part 1 overperformed the SAG last year. Obviously, the big shock being that they got Jonathan Bailey in. I feel like enough of like the SAG body is still such a big fan of that work and that movie overall that it could still show up here in Best Ensemble. In its place, I don't have Hamnet here, which may seem silly because I have 2 of its actors, but to me, Hamnet is something similar to like The Holdovers, where it's such a small ensemble in terms of like who's really listed as part of that ensemble cast. Like it's only a very small handful of people in all reality. And similar to The Holdovers, it was really only like Paul Giamatti, Davon Joy Randolph, Dominic Sessa. I don't even think Harry Preston was part of that. So like 3 or 4 people who, yes, they're giving incredible individual performances, but like it's not necessarily recognized as like an impressive ensemble piece itself. And I do feel like that's where Hamnet falls this year. And so that's why I don't have it here, but it doesn't reflect on how I feel about that film overall and the strength of it and like the way it's going to do well at the Oscars too. So I don't expect Hamnet to pop up in here. Could be wrong, but we'll see. Surprises, I don't know. Frankenstein, maybe. I think I'm just like triggered from everything that happened at Critics' Choice last night. Jay Kelly, yes, it has a very big, meaty cast. It's a Netflix movie. Not that it necessarily matters, but maybe it does, with Netflix being the sponsor and host of the SAG Actor Awards now. But again, that movie feels so dead right now that I wouldn't expect it to pop up here. Wake Up Dead Man, no. Weapons, no. House of Dynamite, no. Begonia, no. Like, I think really this last spot is going to be between Wicked for Good and Hamnet. And at this point, I do have Hamnet out for the reasons I said. So that wraps it up for my SAG Actor Award predictions. Okay, and then moving on to DGA, Directors Guild of America. So I'm not going to do the first time film prediction because I've really only seen like one of those, and it's Sorry Baby, and I'm confident that Ava Victor will get in and hopefully win for that. But other than that, I have no like way of giving any sort of prediction, so I'm going to make it up when I put it into Gold Derby and Award Expert. But for Best Directing main prize, so I've got Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle, Ryan Coogler for Sinners, Chloe Zhao for Hamnet, Guillermo del Toro for Frankenstein, and Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme. I feel pretty good about these 5, as do most people. This is like the list that most folks have. Really, like, this is a situation where obviously there's no international films within this top 5 and like within the top 5 that most people have, but I don't think we have an international film that's like such a heavy front runner like we have in previous years. Like, I don't think like Sentimental Value is quite like an Amelia Perez or like an Anatomy of a Fall or wait, I'm sorry, Anatomy did not get a DGA nomination. Who was nominated that year? I'm thinking PGA. Yeah, so it's very frequent for international films to not be recognized here. Like I said, last year we had Amelia Perez, but like the year before, The Holdovers and Barbie were here, which got replaced by Anatomy of a Fall in the Zone of Interest. The year before, Top Gun Maverick and The Fabelmans were there, which got replaced by Triangle of Sadness and I think Drive My Car? No, that wasn't that year. But you know what I mean. Like 2022 Academy Award. Oh, Spielberg was nominated, you idiot. But anyway, but like Top Gun Maverick getting replaced by Triangle of Sadness. So again, I don't think a movie like Sentimental Value, It Was Just an Accident, bumps out any of these five, even though I think they're both very still likely to get the Oscar nomination. But again, that's just typical behavior where it's very frequent that we only see 3 or 4 of the DGA nominees go on to get the Oscar nomination. So I would expect to see these 5 and not be too surprised about it. Who gets dropped for the Oscars? I'll say now, and I alluded to it in my Critics' Choice predictions video, I do think Ryan Coogler is going to end up getting snubbed for Sinners, and that's going to be a riot. Get ready. It's going to be crazy. And it won't, like, I'll be bummed out too, because I loved that movie. You know, it was my favorite movie for the majority of the year until we hit the fall and a couple other things came out, but like, would be so deserving. I'm purely saying like my speculation based on just fact and vibe and trend that like, that feels like a movie that's going to miss a couple key nominations that are expected, similar to something like Barbie. And then aside from him, you know, I think Coogler gets swapped out for Joachim Trier for Sentimental Value, and then either Guillermo del Toro or Josh Safdie get snubbed out for Jafar Panahi to get in for It Was Just an Accident. So it's gonna be a shame because like legitimately there are probably like 10 directors that are so deserving of a nomination for the Oscars this year, and like we can only have 5. And that's just how the cookie crumbles. So I'll digress on that for now until 2.5 weeks from now when Oscar nominations come out. But those are my 5 picks for DGA. And then lastly, let's talk Producers Guild of America PGA nominations. 10 films we can pick for PGA. So I've got One Battle, Sinners, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, Frankenstein, Sentimental Value, Wicked for Good, F1, Train Dreams, and Avatar, Fire and Ash. So again, you know, this is going to be a situation where not all of these are, there's no way in hell these are all getting the Oscar nomination for Best Picture. You know, obviously we had the situation 2 years ago where the PGA 10 did match the Oscar Best Picture 10, but such a rare occurrence. And like, this is not a year for that to happen because there are big enough films that were popular enough to get in for a PGA nom, but are just not going to get Best Picture. So for me, like that's F1 and Avatar, Fire and Ash that I don't think are going to carry through. And then I think Wicked for Good and Train Dreams are on the bubble. I'm very confident about these top 6 carrying all the way through. And then it's just going to be what international films are going to snub out the other 4 that I've got in here and get swapped in for Best Picture instead. So, you know, something like, you know, people on Award Expert have It Was Just an Accident in here. That is not getting a PGA nomination. There's no way. And like, no, that movie was incredible, but like, that's just not a PGA. If it gets a PGA nomination, I'll like take a bite out of like my pillow or something. I don't know, but I just could never see that getting PGA. Begonia, I don't know. Like, I do think that could pop in here ahead of like, I don't know, maybe Fire and Ash or something. But I just have a feeling about Begonia that like its time is also coming to an end. Jay Kelly, you know, with it being an American film, I don't think it's liked enough to make it in here. Like, I just don't think it has any support whatsoever. Weapons, that'd be like a cool shocker, but I just don't see it. And then we're getting into like the international picks, Secret Agent, No Other Choice, and those just aren't happening. So I think like we've really got maybe, I don't know, like 12, 13 movies fighting for this top 10. These are the 10 that I'm going with. So we'll have to see what happens. So thank you all for joining and listening. Please subscribe to the YouTube. Please follow me on Instagram and TikTok at and the Gooby Goes To with an underscore on Instagram. And at some point this week soon, I will be recording my Golden Globe winner predictions since the Golden Globes are airing on Sunday, January 11th. So like I said, when I started this channel last week, it is go time for film awards. And we've got a lot coming and we got a lot going. Very silly. But anyway, thank you all so much. Have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And we will see you next time.